Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. This is just another podcast with Mick. So today we're going to be talking about something that's a little bit serious. It's not just stupid stories that happen to me. but before that, you guys already know we usually have drinks on this podcast, but today I am having coffee. Why? Because it's 4 o'clock, and I usually shoot my videos towards the end of the night. So yeah, it would seem really weird to be drinking on camera in the day. So, cheers. This is coffee, okay? All right, so the thing we're going to be talking about is something that everybody else is probably already aware of, except for me, apparently, because I've been living under a rock. I've been off social media for the most part. Like, I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on Twitter, I'm just barely on Instagram. And the only apps that I use on my phone right now are YouTube and Telegram, social media apps. Those are the only ones that I use right now. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the Cancel Korea movement from the Philippines. So the thing is, I'm not going to be going to a deep dive about this. I'm not going to be giving my own personal opinion. This podcast episode is not about this. We're just going to talk about it a little bit. But then the main point of this is being able to take a step back from social media and the importance of that, because this is kind of a good example of why. All right, so it's important to give the gist of what happened, because you never know, somebody out there might be exactly like me, living under a rock. So let's go. A couple of days ago, I was on YouTube, just scrolling, looking for something to watch, and I stumbled upon this video that said, reaction to the Philippines' Cancel Korea movement. And I was just like, whoa. What the hell is happening? What? So I messaged my friend, and then I was just like, hey, do you know about this Cancel Korea movement? And she was just like, yeah, dude, it's been happening for over a week already, so you're pretty late. So I was just like, oh, so this is what happens when you take a break from social media. So yeah, basically the whole thing started with this TikToker named Bella Porch, who had this very visible tattoo on her arm that had this heart in the middle, and then there were just sun rays coming from it, very similar to the rising sun, which we all know is directly correlated to Japan. And a lot of Koreans took notice and took offense in her tattoo. So the question is, why did they take offense in that, right? So apparently it's very much similar to the rising sun flag that the Japanese used when they during the whole Japanese colonization, where they seized a lot of countries. So Korea was affected by that, and so was the Philippines. So I'm not going to go into deep detail on that either. We all know how tragic the situation was. So yeah, they took offense in that because of how similar the tattoo was with the flag. And Bella was pretty much shocked as well. I don't think she was aware that that's what it meant, and I'm pretty sure she had no intention of offending anybody. So yeah, she was quick to apologize on Twitter, and her apology was actually very sincere. She even offered to get rid of her tattoo, and we all know, based off How I Met Your Mother, how painful a procedure that is, and it's probably a very costly procedure. I don't know, it looks like a very expensive procedure. But yeah, she also gave a warning to people, don't make the same mistake I did. Make sure, you know what you're gonna have inked on your body, something like that. So yeah, it should have ended there, but a lot of people continued to criticize her on her YouTube video together with the Filipino nation. They started saying really, really mean things that, the Philippines is uneducated, the Philippines is poor. And the thing is, okay, so it's always these three insults. The Philippines is uneducated, poor, and short. I mean, come on, that's such a cheap shot. I mean, yes, I am aware that being called short is somewhat of an insult, but is it enough to criticize or insult an entire nation? And the gravity of previous insults are just so big. They're just so different from being called short. I don't know. I do not approve of that. I mean, I think Filipinos are very hardworking and smart people despite being in a third world country and despite being short. Okay, but anyway, so a lot of Koreans continued to comment on her TikTok videos, and a lot of Filipinos took notice as well and started defending the Philippines. And that's kind of how the whole Cancel Korea movement started, which I think is freaking huge, by the way, because Korean culture in the Philippines is it's so popular. It's so heavily embedded into the pop culture today, with K-pop and K-dramas and Korean fashion and Korean food. Everybody eats samgyeopsal. It's just it's so popular that it's so crazy to me that people would actually say cancel Korea. So yeah, and then once the whole cancel Korea commotion started, and then a few Koreans kind of reacted badly to that as well. I think we're all aware of that one guy who not only decided to print out the flag, but he drew it by hand, and he got it wrong. Actually, there were no stars in that flag. But yeah, he drew one, he spat on it, teared it up, and he stepped on it. So I thought that was pretty horrible. And that's probably the only personal opinion that I am going to be giving about the entire situation, is I thought that was pretty horrible. It was very disrespectful. And even his Korean brothers and sisters thought that was pretty heinous and horrible as well. So yeah, but it's important not to generalize all the Koreans just because of what this one guy did, even though some people did follow him. But yeah, a lot of Koreans actually apologized over what happened. A lot of Korean YouTubers apologized as well, defending the Filipino people. So that was really nice. Hang on, I'm gonna drink coffee. So yeah, that is pretty much what happened with the whole Cancel Korea movement. So the whole point of this video, again, is the importance of taking a step back from social media. And I'm going to be explaining why, obviously. One thing that I've learned in this quarantine actually is we have very little control over a lot of big picture things. For example, this pandemic, we have zero control over what's happening in the world. We have zero control over when this quarantine is going to end. Especially here in the Philippines, it's still ongoing. And I have zero control over when I'll be able to go back to school and actually freaking graduate, right? So it's super frustrating to think that we have zero control over a lot of things. And that kind of started this, for me, this screw it mentality. Like, somewhere in the quarantine, I was just like, what, screw it. I'm not going to go to bed early because we're in a pandemic. Screw it. I'm not going to eat healthy because we're in a pandemic. I'm just going to eat all the junk food and let myself go. But yeah, it's just that kind of mentality. But the thing is, one thing that I forgot is I still have control over a lot in my life. And sometimes we just need to be reminded of that. We still have control over what we put into our body, whether or not we want to be healthy and exercise. And we have control over how we use the internet and how we use social media. So I'm not saying that the internet and social media is a bad thing either. It has its own sets of pros and cons as well. But before we get to the cons, let's talk about the pros and what I personally love about social media, right? So the first thing is being able to communicate so easily. So I'm sorry, I made myself laugh because if anybody knows me, I am horrible at replying. I don't want to say that I have social anxiety, but I have a really hard time replying online. It's like I can talk to you for hours face to face, but if you talk to me online, like I will panic. And it's just horrible. But yeah, anyway, one of the best things that I love about social media is being able to communicate very easily with other people, especially now that we're in a pandemic and we can't see our friends and our family face to face. It's great to be able to just like call them up on Messenger and like see them like virtually. It's such a big deal. Can you imagine being in quarantine without that feature? I think we would all go insane. But it's especially important to me because my mom and my grandparents are in the States and my sister is in Singapore. So it's really great to be able to call them at least once a week to check how they're doing, whether or not they're okay. And my mom is a frontliner, she's a nurse, so that was very, very scary in the first few months, but luckily she's doing okay. So yeah, another thing that's great about social media is that it's just a great platform for aspiring creatives to, learn more about their craft, to show off their work, and to reach like an audience. And even if you're not a creative, it like social media is just fun, posting and then like seeing what others are posting, being able to interact with each other. It's kind of like a community. So yeah, that's great too. It's also great for online businesses, being able to again showcase like your products and being able to reach like a wider audience as well, as opposed to just like telling people to buy it, just messaging people. So yeah, there's a lot that you can get off of social media, and the internet is just an amazing tool as well. Like everything that I learned about video, I learned off of YouTube. Everything that I'm studying, everything that I've learned about Japanese and the piano are also from the internet. So it's just an amazing tool. And I think like people forget how much they can learn on the internet, because like during this quarantine, like I was looking for something to do and then boom, yeah, apparently everything is at our disposal. But let's talk about the cons. Okay, so first and foremost, like the biggest con for me is cancel culture. I am really not a fan of cancel culture. I think it's, of course, this is just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't hold it against me. But I just think it's really toxic in a way that, I don't know, because like canceling somebody is so different from confronting somebody, and for you to drag it onto social media, sometimes it doesn't seem necessary at all. And like, when you want to confront somebody, just message them personally. You don't really have to post about it and get other people involved. So I feel like that's one of the biggest cons for me, and it just like it has negative energy sometimes, and I just don't want to be involved with that. Another thing would be like phone addiction. These are very, very scary words, like phone addiction, because we don't really think about it anymore, considering how normal it is to be just like glued to your phone and have your phone on you at all times and using it because everybody else is doing it. This is the first thing that we check in the morning. Then we go through social media. Takes about like 30 minutes minimum before we get out of bed. And then this is also the last thing that we do before we go to sleep. So it's not something that we really think about. So I'm going to get back to that. And another thing would be self-esteem issues, because I think a lot of people experience that to this day, because like there's this issue that like for example in Instagram, people post like their depiction of their perfect life and everything is just like fake. For me, I don't think that's very true, because like as a creative, well, I work hard for the photos that I take, not because I want this to be like, oh, hey, look at my life is so cool. It's more of like I want to work on my photography skills and I want to showcase them on social media. I don't think there's anything wrong about that. But yeah, then again, some people can be negatively affected by this, and then there are just a lot of negative things about the internet. Like, we use it way too much. We spend too much time on it. We could be doing so much more. But then again, I'm not saying that you should go on social media, okay? But anyway, back to the phone addiction thing. All right. So in the midst of this quarantine, I felt like I needed a change of pace. I wasn't in the best place, but that was mostly because like I felt like I had zero control over anything, and I think that does happen because like there's so much uncertainty. We become blinded by it, and we just like lose sight of what we want to do. So we just like engage in doing really useless things, like using your phone too much. So I found that I was personally. And the thing is, I would be updated with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'd be updated on all the posts, all the tweets. But like at the end of the day, I spent so much time on my phone, but I didn't really get anything from it. There's not much you get from that. Maybe a meme or two that will make you go, that thing with your nose. But I think that was it. So I was like, you know what? I need to change of pace to get moving again. So I'm gonna quit social media for a week. I said, okay, let's do it for a week. Like, let's just quit all the apps. Instagram, deactivate Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And at first I was like, okay, I can do this. I don't have a phone addiction. It's probably going to be super easy, right? It's not. You don't really know you have a phone addiction until like you try to stop. Trust me. Okay, I know it sounds super weird, but think about it. When was the last time you watched something without mindlessly scrolling through your phone? Or like you'd watch something and then you'd scroll on like Lazada or Shopee or something. It's just like, put your phone down and focus on something else. It's just one of those little things. So anyway, when I first quit social media, I was just like, I open it and then I'm just like, oh sorry, I'm not supposed to cuss. I'm like, I can't do anything with my phone, so I put it down and then I pick it back up. Then I put it down, and then it was just like this constant repetition of just like, oh crap, what is my phone even for? So yeah, I was able to get through it. I was able to get through that without any withdrawal symptoms, thank God. But yeah, again, I'm not saying that you should quit social media, that it's bad for you. I just think we should limit our intake, because yes, it is entertaining, but it also takes up a lot of our time. And I think it's so important to be able to take control of things that we actually have control over. Like for me, it was my phone and my diet, and I finally started exercising again. So like things are starting to look a lot clearer than before. So yeah, in terms of your phone, just try to think about how much time you use on your phone, and then just like take away 30 minutes of that in a day and try doing something else. Like, it will change your life so much. I don't know. It did for me. Like, the way that it boosted, like, my mental health, it did a lot. So I'm pretty sure it will be able to help some people, move a little forward. So yeah, again, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, all right? We just spend way too much time on our phones, and that's just a fact. So yeah, so it's like with the whole cancel Korea issue, there was a lot of negative energy there, and it's such a hard topic to handle as well, because it has a lot to do with culture and like respect to one's history. So it's hard to comment on it really, but just think about it like this. You may not have control over what you feel, but at the end of the day, you have control over what you do and what you say. It doesn't matter where you're from, what your background is. At the end of the day, it's just you. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here. So that was pretty much that for this podcast episode. Hopefully you guys hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. That was long, but I think that was pretty good.